to the licensing hearing panel of the 19th of January. Thank you.
First thing we need to do is elect a chairperson for the panel, please.
Thank you. I just give a brief outline of the process, but before I do that, may I ask everybody to introduce themselves, please? Oh, sorry. I always forget this one. I'm really, really sorry, folks. Do we have any disclosable, pecuniary or other interests to be declared at this meeting? And then I'll let Matt go. I haven't got any personally, neither. That means that I can let Councillor Byrne go as we record it. Thank you. Thank you for attending. If I could ask people to introduce themselves. I'm Councillor Brown and I'm chair of this hearing today.
Thank you, Krishnan, legal advisor.
Katie Honeywood, licensing officer.
Yes, good afternoon. My name's Frank Fender. I'm representing the applicant today, and the applicant sits to my left, to your right. He's Mr. Mail Vagnam Thayanantham, and he's more than happy for everybody to refer to him as Nanthan for the purpose of today's proceedings. Thank you.
Hi, good afternoon. This is Mailvanam Dayanandan, applicant.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm PC Pickett. I'm a licensed officer for Kent Police.
Hello, PC Andres Monts, Police Alcohol Licensing Officer.
Nicola Couchman, Democratic Services Officer.
The way that we intend to run this afternoon is the licensing officer will briefly outline the application, and then the applicant or representatives speaks in support of the application, and then the objectors can ask the applicant questions and the witnesses questions, and the panel then asks the applicant questions, and then the objectors can speak to their objections and about their representation and call any witnesses, and the applicant or their representative can ask the objectors questions, and then we ask questions as the panel, and then all parties, if they have any further questions that need to add something further, they will have an opportunity to do so at the end. And then we will ask you to leave the room while we deliberate, and if it's very complex, we may decide that we're going to give the judgment at a later date, but that would be within 5 working days. Thank you. I call on Kate, if you wouldn't mind, Katie, to outline the application for us, please.
Thank you, Chair. Good afternoon. On the 29th of November 2023, we received a new premises licence application for 1A Victoria Street, Gillingham. We received a representation on the 18th of December 2023 from Public Health, who unfortunately could not attend today. This was in relation to 2 of the licensing objectives, the prevention of crime and disorder and the prevention of public nuisance. You can find this representation at Appendix B. We received a representation on the 21st of December 2023 from Kent Police. This was in relation to 3 of the licensing objectives, the prevention of crime and disorder, public safety and the prevention of public nuisance. This representation can be found at Appendix C. Due to the application being in a cumulative impact area, no agreement has yet been reached. Therefore, this application has now come to a hearing for the licensing panel to make a decision on the outcome of the application. Thank you.
Thank you, Kate. Now come to the applicant or their representatives to present their support for the application. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Councillors. As you've just heard, this is an application for a new premises licence this afternoon, made by Nanthan. And if you are minded to grant the application today, the premises will be a convenience store operating under the Premier franchise, not only selling alcohol, but also many other grocery products and household items, as you'd expect from a general convenience store. Obviously, if you grant the licence today, alcohol products can be added to the list of offerings at the premises. The hours applied for are as per your report, to sell alcohol daily from 9 o'clock in the morning until 11 o'clock in the evening each day of the week. The premises intends to operate as a news agent as well, so the actual opening hours will commence from 6 o'clock in the morning. Obviously, the sale of alcohol would not commence until 9 o'clock. Robust conditions are proposed within the application. These can be seen at pages 24, 25 and 26 of your report, and I will make reference to those conditions, to those measures, very shortly. A little bit about the applicant. Nanthan has considerable experience of working in licensed premises, selling alcohol for consumption off the premises. For 10 years, he managed a Shell petrol station, which had a premises licence to sell alcohol for 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. He has held a personal licence since 2012. In 2021, he became the premises licence holder for a Premier convenience store at Luton Road, Chatham. It should be noted that those premises at Luton Road, Chatham, where he is currently the licence holder, are situated within one of your cumulative impact zones. It's situated within the Luton Road and Chatham central area cumulative impact zone. So he does have experience of operating a licensed premises within a cumulative impact zone. He still holds that premises licence, but that shop has been closed since July last year due to a fire. There have been delays in getting the shop reopened, delays caused by insurance issues, building safety issues, all of that work is ongoing. He needs another premises to enable himself to sort of run a business and make money for his family. He's currently working at another licensed shop in your council area in Rochester. That's also a Premier convenience store. That's located in Bill Street Road in Rochester. Those premises are not located within any of your cumulative impact zones. So in a nutshell, Nanthan has a lot of experience of operating and working in the Medway area, including within a cumulative impact zone, and there have never been any known issues for any of the authorities at any of the premises where he has worked or at the premises where he holds a premises licence. Today's application, of course, has received 2 representations, hence why we're here this afternoon. Both representations effectively state that the application should be refused because the premises falls within the cumulative impact zone. Both representations state that this application is not exceptional and should therefore be refused. I want to address the issue around the word exceptional. On page 3 of PC Pickett's representation, there is mention of the conversation that I had with him during the process, where he advised me that there would be a presumption that the application would be refused unless the premises were shown to be exceptional. PC Pickett's representation then quotes section 8.43 of the statutory guidance issued under section 182 of the Licensing Act. And I quote, this is what that section says. Applicants are expected to include positive proposals in their application on how they will manage any potential risks. Where specific policies apply in the area, for example, a cumulative impact assessment, applicants are also expected to demonstrate an understanding of how the policy impacts on their application, any measures that they will take to mitigate the impact, and why they consider the application should be an exception to the policy. That paragraph does not say that the premises has to be exceptional. That paragraph means that an applicant within the application should be proposing measures to demonstrate that there would be no adverse impact on the issues which are being currently experienced in that area. And therefore, the application, if there are measures to negate those issues, the application can be treated as an exception to the policy, which would then allow the application to be granted. It does not mean that the premises has to be exceptional. What makes a shop exceptional? I actually asked PC Pickett that question on the telephone, and the response was along the lines that a shop selling high-end alcoholic products could fall within the remit of being exceptional. Sorry, but I just don't buy that. There's currently a cost of living crisis throughout this country. People struggling to buy basics, let alone high-end alcohol products. Any business at the moment starting out along the lines of high-end products, which usually means very expensive, are doomed to fail. Can I refer you to paragraph 6.3 on page 34 of your own council's statement of licensing policy? Paragraph 6.3 states, "The effect of a special policy is to create a rebuttable presumption that applications for new licences or material variations to existing licences will normally be refused unless it can be shown that the premises concerned will not add to the cumulative impact on the licensing objectives already being experienced." The council policy does not state that a premises has to be exceptional, but it rightly states, the council's policy does rightly state, that if it can be demonstrated that a new licence will not add to the negative cumulative impact, then you can grant the licence. PC Pickett then references within his representation Medway's cumulative impact policy document. And he quotes one line from the second paragraph on page 3 of that assessment document, where it states, and again I quote him, "Exceptions to the CIP must be for genuinely exceptional reasons." This is the first mention that exceptional is mentioned in a different context to that contained within the Section 182 guidance and within the Council's own statement of licensing policy. But when the previous paragraph on page 2 in the CIP, the Cumulative Impact Assessment document, is read, it states, where the CIP Cumulative Impact Policy is applied and there are relevant representations, there is a rebuttable presumption of refusal by the authority in all but exceptional circumstances, unless the applicant can demonstrate the premises will not adversely affect the licensing objectives. That paragraph within your cumulative impact assessment document reinforces the information in Section 182 guidance, in that an application can be treated as an exception to the policy if it can be demonstrated that the granting of the licence will not add to the overall negative impact in the area. We therefore submit, Chair, that the robust measures contained within the application, which will become conditions on the licence, should you be minded to grant it, they go a long way to addressing the reasons for the cumulative impact policy in this particular area. Page 14 of the cumulative impact assessment refers to the specific policy for Gillingham High Street. That's the area that we're looking at today. Paragraph 3 gives the reasons why that policy exists, and I'll quote, "The Community Safety Unit identified issues around the availability and consumption of high-strength, cheap beer and cider linked to health issues, public nuisance, antisocial behaviour and crime." Paragraph 11 on page 15 There has been a growth of off-licence premises in the cumulative impact policy and surrounding area. Many of these sell products which are termed as super strength beer and cider, i.e. cheap beer and cider products over 5.5% ABV, making cheap, high-strength alcohol readily available. From these paragraphs, we can deduce that the reasons for the introduction of the cumulative impact policy for Gillingham High Street is because of the availability of super strength beer and cider, quoting over 5.5% ABV, and making cheap, high-strength alcohol readily available. If I can now draw your attention to the proposed measures within the application for today's premises licence, you can see there are measures that negate those concerns. There are measures to say no single cans of beer, lager and cider will be sold at the premises. No single cans at all. No mention of the ABV, the strength, but just no single cans. No single bottles of beer, lager and cider, which are less than 500 millilitres, the small bottles, the cheaper bottles, the more easily accessible to the street drinker bottles. No beers, lagers or ciders which exceed 5.5% by volume shall be sold at the premises. A complete cut-off, nothing over 5.5%, beers, lagers or ciders. And there's even a further measure in respect to spirits. No spirits where the quantity is less than 200 millilitres, your miniatures effectively, shall be displayed, sold or offered for sale from the premises. Effectively, the street drinkers' drinks of choice will not be sold from these premises, and we would therefore submit that therefore you can make these premises an exception to the cumulative impact policy because they will not add to the overall negative impact within that area, and we would therefore ask you to grant. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you for that. It's now for the objectors to ask questions of the applicant and you as his representative.
Yeah, Mr. Fender, so just some questions. You mentioned that Nanthan's premises was in Luton Road, is closed at the moment. So the premises in Victoria Street, has that been purchased or is it leased by Nanthan?
That's leased by.
Leased. So you've taken a lease to doing any investigation into where the premises are situated in relation to Mr. Fender made mention that your premises is currently in a SIP area for Luton Road. Did you think, shall I investigate to see if this premises is in another SIP?
The applicant knew that these premises were in a cumulative impact policy area prior to the submission of the application.
Okay, so my question is, prior to having the lease, taking the lease out, was he aware if this was in a SIP area?
Yes.
Go. There is a clause within the lease that the lease, Nanthan taking over the premises, it is subject to the premises being granted a premises licence.
In relation to the premises in Luton Road, when that's the issues of insurance, etc., have been resolved, does he intend to reopen and run both premises?
Yes, sir.
So with that in mind, obviously we don't know when Luton Road is going to open or reopen. I'm not aware when Victoria Street would open, but how would you see your time split between the two?
Because for the Luton Road, I have another employee work for me. He can run the shop because I'm thinking this is one way quickest to open the shop, the Victoria Street, when you grant the license. So I can run the Victoria Street, and then the other one, my staff can run the business on the Luton Road.
I will also add to that, Busy Pickett, that we've actually had that conversation ourselves. Each shop will have its own on-site DPS. You wouldn't have one DPS to cover both shops. It will be sort of self-managed along those roads so that you've got properly trained people there at all times.
So within the application, you make reference several parts of the operation schedule in relation to training of staff. Obviously, Lantham said he would be there for Victoria Street, and then you just said there'd be a DPS for the other site. But for other staff members, what training would take place, especially in relation to, you make mention to identifying street drinkers?
Yeah, well, as part of my package that I offer my clients, I'm also a trainer. I deliver personal licence training. I also deliver bespoke training to shops like Nanthan's, to staff, managers, etc., in accordance with any conditions that are on the premises licence.
And you made mention that obviously the opening hours for the premises will be different to the licensed hours. So how is the premises going to deal with making sure that the alcohol is not on display?
Well, there's actually a legal requirement, isn't there, in law that if alcohol mustn't be displayed for sale for any of the times where the shop is open but not allowed to sell alcohol, so it would need to be covered up in some way, shape or form. And again, I always encourage the use of signage to alert customers.
Thank you, Chair. I've got no further questions at the moment.
Thank you. Now the panel will ask the applicant some questions. Who wants to start? Okay. Councillor Brigg, have you got some questions for the applicant? Thank you.
More clarification than a question, I think, please. I wasn't quite sure of the understanding between the premises in Luton and the new premises in Gillingham. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I understood that the intention is that once work has been completed at the Luton store, then you would retain responsibility for the Luton store as well as Victoria Road in Gillingham. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
So you would be running two
Both.
premises, both under lease arrangements, is it?
Yes, both under my lease, yeah.
So you would be leasing both properties at Luton Road
And
or Luton
Victoria.
and Victoria.
Yes, sir.
But having done that, there would then be, the idea would there would be then a separate licence for each of the premises.
Each premises will have its own premises licence. It has to.
Right.
It has to. Nothing wrong with being a leaseholder at both premises. Nothing wrong with being a premises licence holder at more than one premises. It's how each premises is managed, which is crucial to the licensing objectives. And what Nanthan is saying is that the shop in Luton Road will have its own on-site designated premises supervisor and manager, and all staff will be trained in accordance with the conditions on those licences in respect of social and legal responsibilities of licensing, etc.
Okay. So the licensee the licence will remain in your hands, but there will be a manager in each of the sites.
That's correct.
Right. Thank you very much.
Councillor Filmer, please.
Yeah, thank you. You refer to Premier Store. Now, is Premier Store a franchise?
Yes.
Yes, yeah.
Right, so
Sorry.
with what they supply you, they would not supply, will they supply you the alcohol as well as the food?
They do.
Right, so that's a good thing because they would not sell you anything that's cheap, strong, problem.
They don't force to sell us, only if we wish to sell high strength beers, we can. But if you say we can't sell under strong beers or anything, we won't able to sell it.
So the shop that you want to open, who do you see as your main customers?
we are mainly targeting the train station, coffee and sandwiches, and then mostly confectionery and groceries, rather than the alcohol.
Okay, so when you were running the one down at Luton, how much problem did you have with the drinkers and everything else late night?
Last 3 years, we haven't had any, not much problem or anything. Only few problem. Only kids we have some problems. Other than that, we don't have any street drinkers problem or anything.
And have you done your research on the area in Gillingham you're looking at regarding what problems you foresee?
I check the online and then the newspapers, same as Luton Road, same issue has on the Gillingham High Street as well. Not many problem like Luton Road.
Okay, thank you.
If I can just add to that for you, Councillor, a conversation that we had during this process also. How do you identify street drinkers? They don't walk around with a badge on their head or anything like that, but through experience, you get to know who the street drinkers are. Through working in partnership with organisations like the police, you can get to know who your street drinkers are. And you may also have seen within the list of conditions of proposed measures, there is 2 policies where they will agree they will not serve alcohol to any of the known street drinkers, whether they are drunk or not. That's over and above the law, because once you get to know who the street drinkers are, you can just refuse to sell them any alcohol. And then what happens in practice, and let's be honest, I'm sure PC Pickett would back this up, you don't solve a problem by refusing to sell it. The street drinkers will get it from somewhere, but you can disrupt it, you can make it awkward for people. And that would be the aim here at Gillingham.
Okay, it's down to me now. So I've got several questions, but these are all for Nathan. They're not actually for you. So firstly, can you just list me the 4 licensing objectives, please?
Say again?
May I know what your understanding is of the 4 licensing objectives, please? They're not conditions, they're objectives. Sorry.
Can I just say that it's my experience in hearings of this nature. I deliver the personal licence training courses, and people that are sitting the examination, they have to know the objectives for the exam. But it's also my experience that the next day after they've been to sleep, they forget them.
I'm asking the applicant,
Yeah.
please.
Yeah, I read the objective here.
Can you tell me what they are? Because you are an experienced DPS.
Yeah, I have,
And
yeah.
I'm not asking for them word by word or anything, and I will help you as you go along. I'd just like to understand
Yeah.
that your understanding of them, please. As you've had 3 objections from the police on 3 of them, and 2 of them from public health.
Because one of them are street drinkers, and then other one is more violence area.
The prevention of
Prevention,
crime
crime,
and
yeah.
crime and disorder. I
Yeah.
understand. And what's the other sort of things that you have to watch out for when you're running your business to deliver me these objectives?
The public safety, actually, looking at the public safety. Yeah.
Okay.
So in my experience, I can deliver public safety. Normally, when I work in the other shop, normally I don't serve any, underage, or even we look at the drinkers or overdrunk or anything. We don't sell anyone.
All right.
So we have experience on.
Yeah, the underage drinking, that comes under another one of the objectives. So I
Yeah.
understand that you're actually doing it,
Yeah.
even though the protection of children is
Yeah.
what we're kind of getting
Yeah.
at there. That's fine. When you were running Luton, what did you do around the prevention of public nuisance? Because I'd like to explore a little bit more your experience of having worked in a SIP.
Mm-hmm.
So as the previous premises, the one that's suspended because of the fire, was in a SIP, and you're looking to open in a SIP. I'm trying to explore your experiences around the difficulties and recognise them, because maybe you need assistance from other people, like our good colleagues of the police and various other people? How did you work with people around that? So if you could just give us a little recap of how it was when you were in Luton.
I wonder if I could rephrase that question for him. And
Yeah, okay.
have you experienced any issues as a result of operating those premises in Luton Road?
I don't, because I know all the customers. It take time, but I can read all the customers. Then I can act according that, because if it's regular customers, we know who are trade fingers and everything, so we can't stop selling. Or if they are trouble, we stop taking to the shops. That's what we do. If they are trouble or anything, we don't take into the shop, or we don't serve alcohol or anything. That's the measures we do.
Okay.
Could you also explain to the councillors the incident that you told me about, where you refused the sale of vapes to people under 18 and what they did?
Yeah, once underage, they comes to ask me the vape, so I refused to sell, and then again they bought the egg and then throw into my windows and everything. I report to the local police authority, and then they haven't done anything about it. So normally I know, because I got a license so long time, the personal license, so I just doing, serve the people and then do whatever I can.
Was the egg incident in the SIP area, or is it one of the current places that you're working?
No, we were at my Luton Road. Yeah,
Lovely. Thanks for that.
thank you.
Now, I come to the proposed opening hours of 6 a.m. to 11 p.m. How do you propose to staff those hours? Because it's 7 days a week and it's excessively long days. So how are you proposing to staff that? You'll be the DPS, I understand, but...
Yeah, I have one permanent staff as well, so I can train him. I'm planning to apply for the personal license for him, so I can manage both. And my wife also work with me, so three of us easily we can manage.
So that's for the Victoria address if we grant the license.
Yeah.
Okay. Now the other thing, Luton Road is a residential area within a SIP. You've told the panel that you're hoping that your footfall will be transitant, really, because you're looking to the train people. How have you thought about dealing with that? Because I accept completely what you're saying about knowing your clientele, but the chances are you won't know all the clientele for this. What are you doing in terms of trying to make any provision for that? This is an application with very standard stuff on it. I'm just trying to find if there is any grounds for exceptionalism on it.
So which shop are you asking for?
The one that we're trying to license or not license.
Victoria Street.
Yeah.
Victoria Street.
Sorry, I didn't get that question.
Victoria Street, this one.
Mm-hmm.
This is what we're hearing today.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Chair, but I'm struggling to understand what it is exactly precisely that you're asking in order to be able to help
Right.
Nathan.
What I'm asking, I'm looking to the different clientele. Luton is in an area of residential clientele. In the residential area, the clientele tend to be fairly static. In an area where you have a train station, the likelihood, a large percentage of your clientele will not be static. They will be transitant. Different people will travel different days of the week. They'll be going different places. They will have come from different places. So you're unlikely to have all the time. You may have a core of regular, but what I'm trying to find out is what have you thought about, and what are you going to do about the slight difference or the greater difference in this clientele? The type of people you're not going to know them every day.
But, well, you will certainly, you will certainly get a large proportion of regular customers. There's a lot of commuters travel every single day of the week to and from, and they'll be more regular in their time frames, etc. I don't see how Nanthan can treat anybody any differently. He has to make an assessment of any customer that comes into the store and make that assessment. Are they street drinking? Are they drinking in the street? Are they drunk? Are they over 25? In other words, do you invoke your Challenge 25 age verification policy? You would treat everybody with exactly the same. But through time, you will learn, or he will learn, as he does now with his Luton Road shop. You know who your regular customers are. And not only that, but known street drinkers, when they know that they will not get served certain products in certain shops, they stay away because they know they're never going to be served. That happens through time and through education.
Have you made any provision to, your representative says you're going to treat everybody the same. We're trying to find, we have a policy here, which means that you need to demonstrate how you're going to make this an exceptional application and exceptional conditions. There are regular conditions that are put on this application. There is not, I'm struggling to find anything exceptional in it. It's, you want us to know it's going to be a good application, you're a good person, you have taken on board professional advice, you are introducing training. But what are you doing to make this an application that we could go against our policy and find for it? And I'm struggling to find that.
Well, as in my presentation, Chair, the products, the reasons for the policy, according to the policy document, is because of the availability of super strength beers, ciders, lagers, because of the availability of cheap alcoholic products. This shop, if you're granting this licence today, those measures will become a condition. And as you be aware, any breach of condition has serious consequences. So they won't be selling the kind of drinks that those people that are causing those issues want. Those people can go down any off licence in that high street, and I've did it myself this morning. I've been up and down in off licences, and the availability of super strength drinks, single cans of super strength drinks, it's so easy. It's so easy. There's no issue. This shop will not be selling those products, and I will submit that that makes it an exception to the other shops that are in Gillingham High Street.
I don't have any further questions at this stage. I now invite the objectors to speak about their issues and call their witnesses if there are any.
Thank you, Chair, councillors. So, as you've heard from Mr. Fender, the application is for a convenience store named as Premier to sell grocery household products as well as alcohol if the premises licence is granted. And it's going to be at Victoria Street, which is directly opposite the train station, and it'll be open from 6 a.m. until 11 p.m. every day, with alcohol sold from 9 a.m. till 11 p.m. every day. As we're fully aware, this location is in the Policy 2 that covers Gillingham High Street and surrounding roads, which was put in place in 2018, renewed in 2021, and is currently in a consultation period which ends next month. The SIP was put in place because this area, as well as others, has suffered historically from a number of issues in relation to crime disorder, antisocial behaviour, as well as public health related incidents, including excessive hospital admissions and ambulance call-outs. And within the statement of licensing policy, it makes reference to the fact that in Chatham High Street and Gillingham High Street, they have in excess of 100 off licences in 1 kilometre radius. When I was preparing my representations, I was aware of the guidance under Section 182 Licensing Act, which says that representations may be based on the evidence published within the CIA. However, I was conscious that data provided by Kent Police anyway was almost 3 years old. So I produced, I've got heat maps produced for the High Street for this representation, but also for the upcoming consultation, to show that the crime and antisocial behaviour is still there. So in particular for the High Street, although there has been a downturn in the amount of crime for Gillingham itself, the High Street there has been a slight increase. It's gone back up to just over 6.2%. And also for antisocial behaviour in relation to the 2 wards that cover that SIP area, they account for just over 18% of all ASB incidents that are in Medway area, not just Gillingham, but the Medway area itself. So I believe that this area is still negatively affected by crime, disorder and antisocial behaviour. When Mr. Fender and I did speak prior to the application being submitted, and he made reference to that in his, obviously, his presentation, he did reference the fact that all applications within the SIP would be objected to by the police. I don't believe that's the case. I think we look at them at an individual basis to see if there's sufficient evidence there that would allow us to go against the policy that's been issued by Medway. If I could just make reference to what Mr. Fender said in relation to the cumulative impact policy, he makes, I think it was page 14, he said that this policy was put in place in relation to the crime and disorder, street drinking. But I would also say that it does state about alcohol-related hospital admissions, alcohol-related ambulance call-outs, assault data from Medway Hospital, and then in paragraph 11 on page 15, it makes reference to the fact that it does go into 5.5 ABV, making cheap, high-strength alcohol readily available. But it's also those hidden alcohol-related harms, such as domestic abuse and health harms, as much as conditions that have been included in this application may go to some way to negating the issues of street drinkers. Those conditions, I believe, can't deal with that sort of those hidden harms. So just to sum up, the cumulative impact policy is in place for a reason, due to the number of premises with off-sales that are present within this area. And as such, there is a rebuttal presumption of refusal in all but exceptional circumstances. While Mr. Fender, has given conditions that may reduce the effect of persons buying and consuming alcohol in relation to street drinkers, this is only one part of the issues that affect this area. I believe that this premises would contribute negatively if given the ability to sell alcohol, and as such, I would ask that this application is refused.
Thank you. Any other comments? BC Smuts, you have any other?
I have not, Chairman.
Okay. It's now the opportunity for the applicant or their representatives to question the objectors.
Thank you, Chair. In your representation, you also referenced the Public Spaces Protection Order. And you did say that it has come to an end. I believe there has been a consultation in respect of potentially renewing that order, but that hasn't happened yet, has it?
I believe the consultation's finished, but I'm not aware of any decision being made as to whether it's going to be renewed.
In your opinion, could you say whether or not that order was effective?
From a practical point, I wouldn't enforce it myself normally, but colleagues may be able to use it, but I would have no data to corroborate what I was saying, so that's as far as I'll go.
That was going to be my next question. I wonder how much use it has received from officers on the street. It's certainly my experience of very little, if any. I just wonder what the experience of the local police community teams have in this area. That's right. You have produced 2 heat maps in your representation. Both heat maps give numbers of crimes and antisocial behaviour. There doesn't appear to be any breakdown or proportion of how much of that crime, how many of those incidents are actually alcohol related. Would you know?
Unfortunately not, no, I haven't got that data.
But these crimes being in a town centre, that's where would you not, through your experience as a police officer, would you not expect a town centre area to have more incidents, full stop, notwithstanding the alcohol-related incidents? For example, where you've got a large conglomeration of shops, you're going to get a lot of thefts, aren't you?
Well, potentially, yeah, but I can't say if any of those are, or all of those are related to alcohol in one way or another. I haven't got that data.
Thank you, Chair. I've got nothing further to add. I was just trying to sort of get a flavour for how much of these problems are actually alcohol related, bearing in mind we're talking about alcohol provision here. But if it's not available, then it's not available.
Thank you. It's over to us to ask a couple more questions if we have any. Councillor Piltner? Councillor Brake?
In relation to the premises at 1A Victoria Street, I'm assuming at the moment these premises are closed. Is that correct?
I believe so, Councillor, yeah. I passed it recently, and it was, I think it used to be a chemist, is that right?
No, that's a hairdresser.
Oh, sorry, my mistake.
So it's currently a
Hairdressers.
No, it's an empty shell.
an empty shell.
An empty shell grilled
So
shuttered.
this is obviously something that is either owned or has been leased by Premier in order to open up. They've seen an opportunity for them to open it up as a retail outlet, and we know from the application today that the applicant wants to sell alcohol from that shop. That's clear at one point, which really leads me on to the second point, and that is, unfortunately, there's nobody here from public health to actually make representation, but I've personal knowledge of the work that the public health team do in relation to highlighting problem areas surrounding an application for the sale of alcohol. And I also know and understand that the work they do in relation to going out and doing spot checks around the area. And having seen the photographs that have been supplied by public health, and I'm sure that you would have seen that, it certainly shows there is high-end alcohol and some low-end alcohol being that is being deposited in the immediate area, which is obviously attributed to and could be called antisocial behaviour. It could be called people living in the area, because we see evidence of black sacks and we see rubbish that is clearly binge drinking by various groups of people. So excuse me going on labouring this point, but it does appear to me, just looking at the evidence produced by public health, that that is a problem area. Having established that it is a problem area, we now want to make sure, and we need to make sure, that we are not going to be adding to that problem. From a police point of view, given the crime, antisocial behaviour and any other issues there may well be within that area, are these premises opening up and the sale of alcohol likely to contribute to what we've seen from the public health report? Please.
I think from my perspective as a police officer, as much as Nantham can control who he sells the alcohol to, and he said over time that he'll get to know street drinkers, identify them, ban them, and they go elsewhere. But there's nothing to stop persons attending the premises, buying alcohol, and then as they're walking away, drinking alcohol and depositing those cans, bottles in the locality, as you say, Councillor, within the photos provided by Public Health. I think that's makes reference they've been taken over the last 18 months at different times, but it's a continuing it's continuing evidence, sorry, of the public nuisance where litter is going on. From a police perspective, from 2020 to 2023, there has been a slight increase in crime in the high street. Mr. Fender says has asked if it's alcohol related. I can't say that, but the crime is going up slightly in that area. So high street and towards the train station, as mentioned in the sidebar of the heat map. So that's where our analysts have said that that's where the majority, the intensity is for incidents of crime and social behaviour. So if this premises was to open and have the ability to sell alcohol, then yes, I believe it would have a negative impact on the licensing objectives that I've mentioned.
Have you details of the number of times police have been called to deal with issues of initially antisocial behaviour and everything else? Because the heat map is very good. It shows where the areas are, but it doesn't give us see the heat map somewhere. It see the areas that we're talking about. How many calls do the police have to
I haven't, sorry, Councillor, I haven't got that to hand at the moment, so I wouldn't be able to say specifically for that area.
Do beg your pardon? Sorry. Does that mean all of that's been lost in the recording?
Yeah. Possibly. Yes.
Right.
Do you want to ask that question again?
Yes. Have you data relative to the number of times that the police have been called to the area relative to antisocial behaviour and potentially alcohol-related problems?
No, Councillor, I haven't got that to hand, unfortunately.
Thank you. Do you need me to go back on to the initial question, which was around number 1A Victoria Street, and really it was stated that those premises are currently being used or as closed as a hairdresser's, so it's never been a retail outlet until this application. It hasn't, the potential of it being a retail outlet has only come about by Premier either leasing or purchasing the premises to and hence the application today to be able to sell alcohol in those premises. So I'm just stating effectively what the answer has been given by yourself. So my apologies for not having the microphone on, but I think I've covered all the points that I'd raised. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Brigg. Thank you for the answers. I've just got a couple of small questions. In the application, you've said that you will keep, if you're granted the licence, you would keep the front of the premises clear of litter and clean and tidy at all times. Is there any rear access to the building in which the public would, because Gillingham has lots of alleyways and the photographs we've been seeing, is there any access to the rear of the building for the public? And not, not for your staff, but for the public? Thanks.
No, madam.
Thank you for that. And the other thing that I'd just like to explore a little bit, that should the license be granted and you were having alcohol, which you would have to have, on the premises during the hours when you're not allowed to sell it, what are your proposals around storing that? And I understand from your representative that there's a suggestion around signage, but on previous occasions I've explored with some applicants around the type of storage that you would employ for this. Have you had any chance to provide enough detail around that? I mean, you've probably got your floor plans and stuff, but what have you decided around that, please?
If I could make it clear, you wouldn't be removing the alcohol from the shelves each day. It would need to be covered. It would need to be covered so to make it clear to customers that it's not actually available to be sold at that time. Signage would reinforce. You'd put a notice up to say we are not allowed to sell alcohol until 9 o'clock, for example. And it would have to be, some people have locked cabinets for, I don't know whether that's something that you plan on having, Nathan, where you pull the shutters down on fridges, things like that.
So normally on the other premises, I have a license. I can't sell alcohol. I open the shop at 7 o'clock. I have license to sell 8 to 11 o'clock. So still, if anyone bring the alcohol into the counter, I don't sell it. Even Sundays, I can sell from 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. only. So normally we don't sell apart from the selling hours. We tell the customer we are not allowed to sell. So they will put it back, even if they take the alcohol. So if you want, we can cover the alcohol area until the license hours. Thank you.
Do I take it that the suggestion of shuttered shelving is something that you're actually agreeing to if we put it in as a condition? It's probably a benefit to the shop in a way too.
I think it potentially it needs to be covered up, whether that's in a locked cupboard, whether that's by draping curtains over it, which I've seen in a lot of shops. I'm sure the police licensing officers have seen that as well. But that would be a matter for, obviously, for Nathan. The key here is that you mustn't have any alcohol on display, which if it was sold, it would commit an offence. An offence would be committed. So by covering it up and putting signage to reinforce that message, customers would be under no uncertain terms that it's not available to be sold at that time.
I understand that. What I'm trying to do is we are dealing with a SIP here, and I'm trying to find some reasons in which I could make any recommendation towards this being in exceptional circumstances. I haven't found it yet.
Yeah, Nathan would be happy to put proper shutters, pull down shutters, which would then go into a clasp and lock that, if you were minded to grant the application with that, yes.
Thank you for the clarification, both. I have no further questions. Thank you. If I could ask all parties to withdraw and unless, oh, sorry. All right.
The proceedings. Questions were raised by the council in relation to public health to the police officers. However, it wasn't put to the representatives whether they had anything to say in relation to public health in terms of the proceedings.
Shall
No,
we include that now?
Quite happy with what's gone on, Chair. Quite happy.
If anybody has anything further to add at this stage, I'd like them to indicate now, and we'll take any additional. I'll take it from PC Pickett, please.
Yeah, Chair, just to clarify and just add a bit further information. Just in relation to Victoria Street, the train station, I don't believe the Chair yourself or the councillors were on the committee at the time, but there was a application in 2020 for premises in Balmoral Road which wanted to sell alcohol. They ended, their application was not of a standard, but when they attended the committee hearing with their agent, they agreed to a number of conditions, such as having SIA door staff, having the premises licence holder DPS on site when alcohol was being sold, alcohol to be sold between 2 p.m. and 9 p.m. And committee members, after hearing the evidence, they decided that it was still, with those stringent conditions, still weren't of an exceptional manner, an application to grant the application, and that was refused.
Yeah, it's a good question. It's not particularly relevant. It's not relevant. Say, if it's not relevant, then it wouldn't be part of your deliberations.
We can strike that from our deliberations. It's your turn now, unless you have you got anything further to add? Give us some up.
Chair, all I'd like to say is, obviously, this is applications for a convenience store to sell food, and if the licence is granted, is to sell alcohol. So the SIP is in place for a reason. It's not just for street drinkers that turn up at a premises to buy alcohol. It's also for those hidden alcohol harms in relation to domestic violence, public health in relation to how it can affect someone. I would say that this application doesn't show that it's should be an exception to your policy. So I think you should refuse the application. Thank you.
Thank you, P.C. Pickett. Would you like to sum up, please?
Yes, thank you, Chair. It's a shame that Public Health aren't here, because they might have gone into a little bit more detail about those hidden harms, the domestic violence. I'm not saying that alcohol doesn't play a part in domestic violence, but if it was seen to be that draconian, then we should stop selling alcohol, full stop. By granting a licence to this shop isn't going to increase the amount of domestic violence. I think that's what I'm trying to say there. The representations, I come back to this point about an exception. What you're being asked to consider today is, can you make these premises an exception to your policy, not are these exceptional premises, offering something completely different. And I will reiterate what I said earlier. The main reasons why this policy is in place here is a street drinking issue. It's a street, there are other harms, I grant you. We can't deny that, I grant that. But by taking away the street drinkers' drink of choice, they will not be able to buy those products which they then drink in the street, and then the associated antisocial behaviour, the begging, the harassment, the fighting, etc. They won't be able to do that after buying products from these premises, and therefore these premises will not add to the overall negative impact in that area. And it's for that reason why we respectfully submit that you can divert away from your policy and grant this licence today. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you for your summing up. Thank you, everybody. Has anybody got anything else to say before I ask all parties to leave the room so that we can deliberate? And we should have a decision this afternoon for you. If you would prefer to have it in writing, you can have it within 5 working days. Okay. Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Thank you for your patience. We found exceptional reasons to grant the licence in this case, subject to some additional conditions, together with the conditions on this application already as submitted. We would grant the licence subject to restriction on the hours for the sale of alcohol from 11 a.m. to 11 p.m. and during the time when alcohol isn't licensed for sale, that it is contained behind lockable shutters. That the Nathan is the DPS for this premises, and that in his absence a licensed person is on premises. So yes, sorry.
At the times when alcohol is sold or available to be sold.
Yes.
So not necessarily between 6 in the morning and 11. Just to clarify.
Yes. Restrictions on the hours, the DPS, the licence. And all the conditions as submitted in the application. Thank you.
Sorry, Chair, I think
Yes.
you wanted to mention just about training. She wanted to be training. Or what she would be conducting the training. Yeah.
I think what we wanted was to be assured that there would be genuine third-party training and that the evidence of the training would be available and submitted on request to either the police or any the correct officers of the council, and that, you know, the people taking on the roles within the shop would be trained within the time. I mean, I understand that there is modules of training that can be delivered either in person or online and stuff like that.
No, I think what
I think what we say is we don't name the third party, but that it is by a recognised training provider.